I was 18 when I went out of home. It was on my exact 18th birthday that I stepped out. And the faith and the trust that they showed in me, I was across the Atlantic. It's a small bit from my side. I think it's very important to remain curious, and that helps you maybe learn new things or notice the gaps that are there, and maybe you could be the one to fill the gaps, or you could be the one who becomes a learned person just because of your curiosity, and that will help you go places.
Welcome to Inspire Someone Today podcast, a show where we dive into the stories and insights that has the power to create ripples of inspiration in your life. I'm your host Shrikant, and I'm thrilled to be with you on this journey of inspiration. Month of March, the world around is celebrating Women's Day, and we at Inspire Someone Today are celebrating this not for a day but all through, and this month is special. We are hearing 4 inspirers in different walks of life joining us and sharing their wonderful stories, sharing their life lessons, and also reason why they are inspirers. Hey my dear listeners, welcome back to yet another episode of Inspire Someone Today. Today's guest is flying in the skies, literally and figuratively. Somebody who takes pride in moving from the right hand side to the left hand side. For you and me, it's like child's play, but it is something more special for our guest today. It's my absolute joy and pleasure to have Shalmalee Joshi on this episode of Inspire Someone Today. Shalmalee, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me here.
So we did talk about you are flying in the skies. So what I meant by that was you are a captain flying in commercial aircraft. When did this dream of becoming a pilot surface, and how did you go about doing this, Shalmalee?
When I was a child, like 15 years, I was pretty clear about what I did not want to do. So considering I wasn't very good at mathematics, I was not going to be an engineer. And so on and so forth. And at the same time, there was a lot of newspaper coverage about shortage of pilots, and my dad pointed that out to me. So, I gave it more thought, and eventually I went for my medical first, and then I went to my flying school. Once I tasted flight, as we call it, it became a dream. I realized this is what I want to do, and I couldn't go back again.
Mm-hmm. So it was coming from a point of view what you didn't want to pursue engineering and you took on to this. But was there a childhood passion that kind of propelled you to take on this journey as well?
Not really. I'll be honest. I was actually interested in biology and in medical field, in fact. But I realized that I didn't have so much patience that the doctors put in, the efforts of years together. Wasn't sure if I had that in me. So I zeroed it on flying. But like I said, that first flight, that first takeoff that I did in my flight school with my instructor, I just knew, I just knew this is what I needed to do and I want to do.
This is what you needed from that first flight experience, and there was no looking back. And along the way, how did you build your roadmap towards becoming what you have become now? If you can give a quick brief of what are you, what is a captain flying a commercial aircraft mean, and how did you go about doing this process?
It's actually a long process, and I'm not from aviation background as such. So we had to go find through some of our acquaintances. We got in touch with a captain who was already flying a long-haul aircraft. So he was one who guided me through the actual process. I'll keep it short. So after you finish your 12th grade in science, you can go for flying. You can fly either in India or abroad. For me, I flew in Florida, and then I came back and there's a process of converting the license. So you have to give multiple exams, and once you clear all that, the regulator will approve your license. But on top of that, for me, through my peers, I got an advice of completing something called a type rating, which I initially did for the Boeing 737 aircraft. And that's how I ended up getting my first job. You have to build a certain number of hours and experience. So you join always as a first officer. And once you build that experience, there's another bunch of training that you undergo to become a captain. And yeah, that's how it is.
And how critical was the role of your support system, of your family in this build-up? Because during those time, a woman pilot was not heard of. It's only off late you see a lot of folks coming to the mainstream of some of these not so familiar roles, but you see a lot of women folks coming in and taking on some of these roles. So how critical, how important it was for you in terms of encouragement, in terms of support? How did that pan out?
It was, I don't think I would have done it without my family, and that was true even today. My parents and my sister, they've been my strongest support during my training days. I was 18 when I went out of home. It was on my exact 18th birthday that I stepped out. And the faith and the trust that they showed in me, I was across the Atlantic. And there was no easy access. We barely, those were the days when Skype had just started coming in. So we would video call maybe on alternate days. But those helped me stay on track. Because it's very easy to give so much independence to an 18-year-old. Just imagine. Even after coming back, we have to travel the whole country to give the different exams. The examination centers are all over the place. And I remember I had my leg fractured. And I was literally limping to the center. But my dad, he traveled all over with me. So yeah, family is extremely important. Even today, I've been married for some time now, almost 6 years. And my in-laws have also been so understanding and supportive. There are multiple festivals or family functions, which I cannot attend. I'm not there. And it has never been, even said out. Of course, the fact that I miss them, I miss the functions, or that's a different story. But there's never an undue expectation. So kudos to them as well for being not so conservative, to put it mildly.
Absolutely. Kudos to them for that unconditional support to see where you are today. And as you kind of do all of these things, how have you built some of those coping mechanisms? I'm sure you have your own moments, missing out some key milestones, not being there when the family is there, stuff like that. And this is so true in many professions as well. So how have you built those coping mechanisms within you?
It's honestly very difficult, but whoever is there at the moment with my kids, or they'll always send me videos. And if I'm on ground, I'll try to attend through a video call. That's one of the new coping mechanism, as you put it. But even like from regular flying, it's just difficult, but you have to get on with it, I think.
And what time have you figured out ways to do this balancing act? You are a working mother. So how do you kind of do the best of both the worlds? Be there when your employer needs you and be there when your family needs you?
Okay, can I say something? Probably not a popular opinion, but I think that balancing act is a myth. Okay, because when you're at work, things will happen. You wish some things don't happen back home, but they will. Sometimes it's an unplanned pattern. You're away longer. Or, sometimes you're just late on a school project for your kid. I feel it is important to prioritize and remind ourselves that priorities also keep changing. And mainly you have to be kind, to yourself also, give yourself grace. Plus, the important thing is that micromanaging at home is not impractical. I mean, it is impractical, especially when you're away, at work. Main aim is to see that your children are happy and healthy, and I think that's what matters. Sometimes, at least this is what I try to do. Like, whoever is the caregiver, we try to do something little extra special for them, so that at least, they are also emotionally satisfied and happy, and your kids are also taken better care of.
Absolutely. I think the new phrase that is out there now is it's no longer a work-life balance, but it's more like a work-life harmony, right? You got to kind of find the harmony between what you do on the personal front, what you do on the work front. And I loved what you said, kind and grace. I think if you can give yourself that bit of kindness and grace and an element of leeway, I think you'll not be under undue stress. And for an outsider, the role of a pilot is very, very glamorous, right? You are always flying, you are in multiple locations, multiple geos. What's it like on the other side?
Oh, it's actually not bad. But it is physically challenging in the terms where, we don't have specific timing. Our circadian rhythm is like all over the place, honestly. Also, you're away from the family a lot. It's great during the bachelor days, But speaking purely physical fitness point of view, I try to carry my own food on flights. Or if it's a layover, I try to get fresh food for somewhere, Swiggy has made things much easy, or Zomato, whatever, delivery people. Also, I try to stick to the Indian timings even when abroad. Because right now, luckily, I'm not flying long haul, luckily or unluckily. But yeah, so even if it's, say, for example, Bangkok or Jeddah on the other side, I try to stick to Indian timings as much as I can. For me, that helps. And I try to get afternoon naps if I'm not flying. So even if next day is an early flight and I have to sleep early at night, I still try to get that 1 hour in the afternoon. I think everybody realizes their own needs and everybody figures out a way how to work around it eventually.
Mm-hmm. So these are the adjustments that you have made. What other adjustments have you made by virtue of becoming a pilot?
I think the main adjustment is time away from home, Emotionally, it's more difficult once you become a mother, I think.
And along the way, you did mention to me during our offline conversation that while you had a fantastic journey of going from the right side to the left side or left side to the right side, I'm interchanging that phrase out
right
here.
To left.
Right to left. And that's not an easy journey as well. And along the way, you also had to kind of go through 2 maternities and you had to kind of come back, reprove yourself. So walk us through that whole experience of going from the right to the left and having some of those career breaks. How did you adjust? What did it mean to you when your career was just taking off?
So I've been on as a first officer, I've flown for almost 6 years before I started my command training. For command training, we undergo thorough, ground classes first, which cover a lot of legality and safety syllabus, so to say. Also, then we have a lot of simulator sessions and we have 2 checks at the end of it. Then we come through line flying, which happens in an aircraft. And we do almost 100 hours of line flying. And then we have route checks at the end of it all. The route checks, there are 10 route checks. And any of the checks you fail, you go right to the beginning and start from ground classes again.
And what are these route checks?
So they are just normal flights.
Okay, you fly from point A to point B.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you'll be asked questions and general your knowledge level, your technical level will be checked. These are carried out by designated examiners who are actually appointed by the DGCA or the government, and they conduct these checks. So you can't, even the smallest of the slip is, not taken lightly. So we do that, and then finally you become a captain. But for me, so I've been, for pilots, when you go on maternity leave, it's actually a very long leave, because from the point you declare your pregnancy, you cannot fly. It's not good for the baby. So it's almost a 15-month break. And then when you come back, there's again intensive training because of such a long break. So I've done that twice. What has really helped me is the fact that my husband is also flying, He has sort of always helped me to stay on track with the procedures and all our manuals and all the reading. So he's always been there. Like, he's my biggest inspiration, motivation, and also my support, So he's always been there sort of to keep me on track. We have done something what we call chair flying at home, where we just do, verbal call-outs, and we just sort of, with our hands, literally we touch all the controls in the air. So like a practice flight. So he's always been there. So for me, I think coming back to flying after breaks has been overall a smooth ride.
It's very interesting. So very amazing how you and your husband have teamed up to kind of stay on course so that you don't miss out a big deal of not flying at all.
Yeah.
And no better than people sitting in the cockpit can share some of these views, which is you're chartering into multiple directions. You are in charge of safety of so many individuals, the flight that you're in charge of. Does it overwhelm you? Is the enormity of the safety of people taking to the location, being on time, does some of those things really overwhelm you or the fraternity at large?
It's a big responsibility, no doubt about that. The job needs you to perform on each flight. But for me, it's like I've found my place. And I think it's the same answer you will get from any pilot, I've been asked these questions many times if, I've been scared. But right from my training days till now, I've never been scared, Because I think there's no place for that in your mind. You're busy doing your job, You're doing your procedures. You're making sure you're not getting into, for example, say a cloud on the way, or, you're avoiding thunderstorms, you're looking at traffic. So you're busy, And even though if there's something which is not happening as per the plan, then you're busy making sure you come back on, the planned flight procedures. Yeah, there's no room in your mind to be scared. That's what I feel.
Okay. So there's no room in mind to be scared. However, the changes in what you do is so instantaneous, right? The change is instantaneous. How do you respond to those changes? Are there preparations that goes behind the scenes, trainings or some kind of mental conditioning that happens so that when change happens, you are in the moment and you kind of respond to the change rather than reacting to the change?
Yes, of course. An enormous amount of work happens behind the scenes. Our training definitely includes, responding to the changes. And with experience, with more and more flying, it sort of becomes a muscle memory. And you're always thinking, if it's a normal flight from place A to place B, you're always thinking, okay, what should I do if something happens on the way? It could be a simple thing like a passenger feeling unwell, or it doesn't necessarily have to be an aircraft thing, because in a passenger aircraft, the cabin is full of sensitive people, if I have to put it lightly. So, yeah, it could be anything. And you're always thinking in your head, you know what to do. You have a backup ready. You have a plan of action in mind. So even if there's any, undesirable situation, because you already know what to do, you're quick to do it also.
Mhm. Anything that you can share with our listeners as to how do you prepare to managing such changes? What tips or tricks that you have or you have learned that you can pass it on to our listeners?
I think, like I was just said earlier, you have to be prepared in your mind. Be ready to face a situation that you do not want to happen. So if the mental plan is ready, I think it's easier to adapt to any change that happens. Let me try to maybe expand on that. So like, for example, if you're going to Bombay to Delhi, as you keep moving north, there's Baroda on the way, there's Ahmedabad on the way, there's Udaipur on the way, there's Jaipur on the way. So as you keep passing these airports, in your head, you're like, okay, now that option is gone, but my next option is so and so airfield. Because in an emergency, main thing is a safe landing, correct?
Yep.
May it be a passenger medical emergency or an aircraft emergency, whatever it is. So, yeah, it's basically, you keep updating weather for each airport on the way, and you make sure it's worthy of a landing. So, yeah, that's sort of the mental preparation that we are, keep doing.
Okay. So fear is out of the equation. You prepare for such kind of eventualities. What else is in the pilot's checklist to ensure safety of the passengers as well as safety of the flight?
So weather and, carrying enough fuel and just being mentally prepared, I think these are the main things,
Okay.
It's very simple. You keep yourself safe, you keep everyone safe.
Okay. That's a good mantra. And how about stress, Shalmalee? Does that play a big role in an occupation like this? And what does the pilots do to manage stress? And of course, COVID, there's so much of stress on mental fitness as well, mental health. So does that play a big significant role in the profession that you are in?
Yeah, mental health is really important. And like you said, it's become post-COVID, it's become a difficult profession in terms of maintaining that harmony. A lot of changes happen to the schedule. You're significantly away from home. To manage that stress, I think you need to give yourself breaks. At least, when you're away from home, do things that you like. Listen to music maybe, or catch up on a movie. Do whatever you will need to do to keep yourself happy. I think that's the main thing.
So end of the day, what you're saying is they're also normal human beings. So they need the same set of stuff than anybody else would need. So treat some of these things in the same fashion, same manner that you would treat any otherwise.
Absolutely.
Great. Here we are with Shalmalee with the power of 3 round. The first of the power of 3 round question, Shalmalee, is what are the 3 best routes you have flown and 3 best airports to land an aircraft?
Okay, the best routes is Mumbai Srinagar. It's a very beautiful route. It's also one of the nicer airports to land. I don't know if people will agree. Then Singapore. It's a beautiful airport, and that's a good flight too. And I also like just flying to Dubai and back. They're very efficient in the UAE. So their efficiency is something to marvel at. I think thanks to one of your guests who was there on the last Women's Day episode.
Nice. 3 individuals you would like to have on board and fly them.
Oh, I've already flown Miss Sunita Williams once.
Wow.
And yes, that was one of a memorable flight on a Bombay-Ahmedabad sector. Apart from that...
But if you had a choice and wish...
Yeah. So her for sure, she's number one because I've already done it. I wish I could have taken my grandparents on board, Never got a chance to do that, but yeah. And I think the last person, it's one of the authors that I really admire, Mr. Douglas, who wrote Hitchhiker's Galaxy to the Space.
Oh, okay. Nice. How nice. What's been the reaction of your kids? Have you flown them and what has been the reaction?
I've not flown them yet. My younger kid is still too small to understand what exactly I do. The older one, she's come to terms with it now. The fact that I go out and fly. Sometimes I've seen her talk to her friends about it sneakily. But it's difficult for her also, I see, at times. But she's like super happy when I come back and, we just spend the entire time together. So, yeah,
Nice.
they understand it now.
So, Shalmalee, if you were to give 3 advice to your older self, what would those 3 advice be? As Shalmalee 10 years from now or 5 years from now?
Read more. That is never enough. Travel more. And eat a little less.
I think one and two you can easily do by virtue of your profession. You can travel more, and because you're traveling, you can read more.
I don't get to read while traveling, I'm actually working.
I agree. So since you mentioned about reading, this is something I'll definitely ask you. What are the 3 book recommendations or podcast recommendations that is your go-to?
Okay. I like a book called The Elephant Whisperer by Mr. Lawrence Anthony. It's a beautiful book. I don't read a lot of non-fiction, but this is one of my favorites. Of course, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It is an all-time number one. And the third book that I read recently was called Momo. I forget the author's name. It's an Indian book. It's about, girl child. It's a very interesting read. It's a very short book. And I didn't like it. So, I would recommend.
Interesting. What are the 3 micro experiments that you would recommend to our listeners?
Okay, so I'll go number 1 as a leader. With your team, it's very. I found it super nice that if you're just smiling and welcoming to them, they listen to you more and they perform much better. That's from the professional point of view. To not feel guilty, I always look at my kids' pictures, my husband's pictures, and when I see them smile in pictures, I feel, it's fine. Also, it's super nice to relieve my stress. I always call up my sister. And I know she's quite busy these days too. But yeah, that is a super strength buster.
If she's listening to this podcast, she'll definitely make some time for our pilot, captain, and have some conversations with you. So like we mentioned at the beginning, we are celebrating Women's Day all through this month. So as part of the Women's Day celebration, I think the theme for this year is Inspire Inclusion. Question that I would want to ask you is, what have you seen as the importance of role models or mentors or sponsors? What can people do to embrace into it, and how can they maximize this option?
Yeah, I feel, if you have a strong support in terms of maybe a mentor or a sponsor, things, it automatically motivates you to perform better because someone is watching over you and, someone is going out of their way to help you. And it's only right for you to come to that level of expectation and, work harder. So I think having a role model is quite important. Having a mentor is quite important as it motivates you to do your job better.
And you did mention about having the choice to pursue your passion. You are provided with that particular choice. But it also comes from a space of having the clarity of thought. So if somebody were to pursue in an area that is still not very familiar with, how can one develop that clarity of thought?
It's important to, I think, strike out the things that you don't think will work for you. it helps develop your clarity itself. And if it's a new field, if it's something that you don't know, also I think it also helps to break things down, in parts, and then just go about just go about your day one by one. You aim big, but you make sure you cut it short and make it achievable by finding the right staircase. Maybe.
It's a good one. So aim big, take small steps, get to that milestone.
Why not?
Yeah, why not? Absolutely. How do you celebrate success?
I love spending time with my friends and my family. So for me, a nice vacation with everybody, or a brunch which elongates into a dinner party also, that sort of stuff. Yeah, I would call that a celebration of success.
Absolutely.
Basically, just spending good time, with your loved ones.
Yeah, each their own, right? So there is no universal definition of what success should look like.
True.
Yeah.
True. I mean, I would not, go to the mall and buy a memento. I would rather, spend time with my friends.
So Shalmalee, for all young girls out there aspiring to be pilots, how can they go about starting their journey? What should they be doing? What should they not be doing?
This has happened just 2 days back on my flight. I met a young girl who was going for one of her exams. She was just after the flight, she came ahead and, we were talking in the cabin, and she was asking me this exact same question. and I don't think, it's only for the girls, it's for anybody, because in flying, it's the same job. It doesn't matter who you are. So simple advice is to, stay focused and be extremely patient, because I've had friends who have taken more than 5 years to find a job, but they have stuck to it. So it's important to, stay focused, at the same time not stay idle, and keep at it.
Keep at it. If there's one thing that flying has taught you over the years, what would that one thing be, Shalmalee?
Being meticulous and preparedness, that whole package. Yeah, being prepared.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. So we had some lovely conversation, Shalmalee. We are at the end of this discussion. Before we wrap up, this show is all about creating ripples of inspiration. So what is your Inspire Someone Today message for all of our listeners?
It's a small bit from my side. I think it's very important to remain curious, and that helps you maybe learn new things, or notice the gaps that are there, and maybe you could be the one to fill the gaps, or you could be the one who becomes a learned person, just because of your curiosity, and that will help you go places.
Or the one who becomes the next Shalmalee. You never know.
Kind of good to say that.
Well, on that note, stay curious. Shalmalee, it has been an absolute joy of having this conversation with you, getting to know a bit of our airline industry, what does it goes in the minds of the pilots. Thank you so much for taking time, and wishing you flying success, and may you soar higher and higher.
Thank you so very much. Thank you so much, and wishing everybody out there a very happy Women's Day.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Inspire Someone Today. This is Srikanth, your host, signing off. Until next time, continue to carry the ripples of inspiration. Stay inspired, keep spreading the light.